Hey guys, it's Lisa and I am back with another video for the Cat Scrappiness design team. Today I'm going to be making a fall card and I'm going to be using this new stamp set called Happy Fall Y'all. And I've got these cool dies in my stash, very old. They are feathers, so I thought I'd make a card with some feathers. I'm using some Spice Marmalade Distress ink on this card, some mustard seed, and some peeled paint. And I've got this cool glass mat, so I'm going to smush some paint onto my mat so that I can do a little bit of watercolor on my watercolor paper. And I've got a large piece of watercolor paper here, so I'm going to cut it down to, I don't know, approximately 6 by 6, just so that I can have some space to work with and that I can have a nice area to work with later when I want to die cut my feathers out, so I'll have plenty of area to choose from. I've got my watercolor brush and some clean water, and I'm going to just start out by getting my paper wet and then adding my paint to the paper. And I'm just kind of going in a random order, no real plan here. I don't think I ever have a real plan when I'm making a card, so get it all dried. And then of course I realized too late that I should have taped it down the first time. So I'm taping it down the second time and I'm giving a second wash of paint over the paper so that I could get my colors to be a little bit brighter. They kind of came out a little dull the first time. So as you can see, I'm just getting my color down, making it a little more vibrant, drying it in between, and I am super fast at this apparently. And then what I would like to do for cards like this, or for backgrounds like this, is do a black splatter all over it. Just kind of gives it a more natural, organic look. And of course I had to test it out on my tester paper, so when I get the splatters the way I like them, I'm going to give them a little bit more spritz. And that's just some black acrylic paint that I've put down on my glass mat. And then I just take another paintbrush and I use my fan brush to just put some black splatter over the paper. And then when I get it where I want it, and when I have splattered up my entire desk, including my iPhone and some dies that are laying on the side apparently, I'm going to give it a dry it. Now I'm going to lay my dies out just to make sure that I like where I die cut them, so that each feather gets a little bit of all three colors on each feather. So that's why I picked such a large piece of paper to watercolor in the beginning. I just wanted to have my choice of where I laid the feathers. So I'm going to tape them down so that I can run them through my die cut machine. And that's just some pink post-it tape, which works really good in the Vagabond. I have a Vagabond die cut machine. Works really nice because I can peel it off later with no problem. And I'm just getting my watercolor paper off the glass mat there. Funny, you can see where the lighter color was before I put the second wash over it. And then I'm just going to peel the dies off, and for the big reveal, my pretty feathers. I love how they came out. They really look great. The colors were very random on each feather, and I was really, really happy with the results. And then actually I saved that negative die cut over there, the space where the feathers came out of, and I cut a really cool scarecrow out of that paper the next day or 2 days later to put on another card. So I just love when I have paper left over like that I can use for other projects. Now I'm taking the stamp set that I showed you in the beginning from Cat Scrappiness, the Happy Fall Y'all. That's a new stamp set that has been released in the shop this month. It's got this really nice vase in it with some some flowers coming out of the top. And I'm stamping it in some Gina K amalgam ink. And that way I can watercolor with whatever medium I want to use. And what I did was I used the same distress inks again that I used on the on the feathers so that it would match. The only color I added in was just a little bit of worn lipstick because one of the flowers in the vase looks like a heart, so I thought it would be really pretty in red. But basically I'm just doing some watercoloring into the vase and the flowers, trying to do a little shading on the left side of the vase. I'm not great at it, but I do my best, and I enjoy it. I think watercoloring is just very relaxing. And then what I wanted to do, the reason I stamped my vase on such a big piece of paper is because I knew I wanted to cut it out with an oval when I was done. So I used the stitched scalloped oval dies that are also in the cat scrappiness shop. And I took a piece of brown paper and made a top folding card, 4¼ by 5½. And here I'm just trying to arrange my feathers behind the vase piece just to see where I like them, just kind of playing around to get some placement. And I felt like the background needed a little bit of softness to it, so I cut a piece of vellum out to put behind the painted vase. And the vellum piece was cut with the stitched scalloped rectangle dies. And then I wanted to stamp the sentiment from the set that says "Give Thanks," and I wanted to heat emboss it with some white embossing powder, so that it would really stand out. And there I'm just cleaning up, even though I used my embossing buddy. There's always some stray powder, so I'm just trying to get the extra powder off. And then I'm using my gun to give it some heat and get it shiny. And then I'm going to trim it with my trimmer. And then what I tried to do after I trimmed it down was hand cut around the sentiment because I just felt like it was too big for the card. So I took my scissors and I hand cut around the sentiment, but unfortunately while I was cutting I realized that I just did not like the way it was coming out. It had very jagged edges and it wasn't smooth. So what I did was I stamped the sentiment a second time and heat embossed it again. And then I took it over to my scan and cut machine and I let the machine cut it out, and it gave it a really nice finished look, and I really liked how it looked on the card. You won't see it here. I did it off camera, so it's not here in the video until the end. When you see the finished card at the end of the video, you'll see that the sentiment is the one that I cut on this scan and cut machine. So yeah, that's about it for this card. And I really love that technique I showed you in the beginning where I watercolored and die cut the feathers out. It's a technique I've used before and will definitely use again. So I hope you guys will give that a try. It's a lot of fun. I will link all the products in the description below so that you guys can check out the products in the store. We've got some new products available in the shop this month, so go check them out. And if you use my code Lisa10, you can save 10% on your order. So thanks for joining me today. I will see you next time. Happy fall, y'all.